Hello everybody, and welcome to episode 6 of my tutorial series for Captain of Industry. I'm Icon, and today's topic will be a real automated facility which allows us to produce our construction parts and our advanced construction parts in a decent ratio, time, and with a decent connection to the infrastructure. That's a lot of things that we're going to cover there, so I think this will fill the entirety of this episode. In between, there are a couple of wonderful things that have happened. Thanks a lot for your super helpful comments in between. I've learned myself a lot as well due to these. The first thing that I wanted to showcase, because I found that a real power tip, was that I underestimated a thing about the farming procedure in general. First off, you don't need to fill the entire crop schedule. They'll just repeat whatever's on the schedule. I misread that. Thanks for that one. But what's also very fascinating is the fact that you can just cycle vegetable and potato endlessly. I'm just doing this to show this. You will reach a fertility equilibrium with these two goods as well. That's not too horrible. So, in case you don't want to work with the green manure, you can go for a cycle without it, or you go for a cycle like that. I found these quite helpful tips, and I'm really appreciating them. So we're going to let the farm run like that, but no, we're not, because we got a vegetable warehouse connected, but I just wanted to leave that for you as an impression because I found that extremely helpful. Another thing that I wanted to showcase here was a little bit of a scenario that might happen to you more often. This little excavator here is stuck. Can't reach destination. He's unable to drive back to the depot there for refueling purposes. So, I mean, little does this sad little creature know that he's not going to need to refuel in the future on his own anymore, but whenever that happens, you can also hit the recover button here, and the excavator will then be magically transported back, and you just need to reassign that. I found that extremely helpful because, you know, sometimes you are just in a situation where your poor little creatures, vehicles can't get out on themselves, so... Well, we are right now, of course, still in a pretty nasty shortage of construction parts. That's mainly because our entire complex here is working so extremely inefficient that it is actually quite a tragedy. But we are getting along after all. Once these parts here are completed, we're going to be a lot more effective than before. But this is only the beginning. I mean, at the end of this, you see, lies the unit storage for iron plates. But if we check out the assemblers, we're going to need much more than that. These guys here, we already set these up for wood, are going to pick up the other material we need, but the last material we're going to need are concrete slabs. So first things first, I want to set up the blueprint for the assembly here. We can use a, where is it? A planning tool. So this is a pretty cool thing. You can use this to set up things that you don't want to be built yet. Because right now we're just planning our stuff, but we are far from being able to pay for that. So we go for the manual assembly. I prefer an electric one, but, well, we're not gonna. And we see now here that we have these three exits for the input and one for the output. So we're going to place this down somewhere here. I'm not going directly to this spot here or somewhere here because I want to make sure that however we connect it, it's going to be... I'll have the option to tidy things up and make them work in a bigger picture. So we're of course going to need the flat conveyors now. That's one downside of making things like these a little bit more on the organized side, I'd say. You need a few more belts, but that's okay. We're setting this up and it's going to work out just fine. Once we are finally rid of this horrible horrible iron manufactory here. Everything will be fine. So we're going to turn off the planning mode now, and we're going to boost these guys because our shortages are over and this thing can churn out material now like crazy, which is good, which is really, really good. So let's check out what we're still missing. Of course, we are also missing another of these storage thingies. So I'm going to set up the next one of those storage guys right here. And we're going to be storing the bricks in there. So this is going to be the third connector. So we'll have a fully automated supply of these things. The only thing which is not going to be automated is the supply of these materials. But, you know, that's what we got cars for, after all. I really hope that the fuel station is going to be finished soon. Let's put this onto priority. So these guys can work too. Alright. So, if you are doing this correctly on your own run, you won't be suffering from such extreme bottlenecks as we are here in this run. I kind of did this mistake intentionally. I knew this from the start that this was a bad idea, but it is sometimes really good to showcase a bad situation to get your to emphasize the importance of things. So finally, this complex here is finished. This means we get to dismantle this entire little complex here. So let's demolish this. And the best part about demolishing all this is that we're going to get back all the materials that were involved there. So, or well, not all the materials, but a lot of them. And we're going to be able to use these construction materials somewhere else. Also pay attention that these materials that are still inside the buildings are just not vanishing. They're going to be transported somewhere else. So we can now unpause this. By the way, you can also use the pause tool for that to do this in a larger scale so you don't have to suffer so badly. And now we have just relocated our production line of iron plates. Well, now the situation will be worse because the assembly is further away, and actually it's not really a good thing, but in the long run we will be profiting from this. So now let's delete the entirety. I just wanted to showcase that you can use the demolish tool also like that. But in the long run we'll be heavily profiting from this. So we're going to unpause these things now as well. There we go. So this unit storage already got this thing rolling, so we're just fine. Now, the really interesting part that we're going to look at now is how does this all work in a bigger picture? This whole facility that we're setting up here is a nice, compact thing, which will work out on its own, but we need way more than that. I think you guys are already well aware of that this is just a small portion, so we need to expand on that. Also, whenever you see that your trucks are very busy, it is never a bad idea to just pump up one or two of them extra. And I love to use my Unity for these quick deliveries, because especially when your logistics network is already overburdened, it is really awesome to have those guys give you a helping hand. Okay, so as you see here, this complex is now really working out well. We got so much material, the fresh ore is being deposited into the loose storage way quicker, so we really can work out a lot faster there. And these two guys are working out constantly. So we now have to wait for the constructions to be finished, of course, but now we are producing our construction parts outsourced, so to say. Wonderful, isn't it? So vegetables will dry out due to the lack of water, so luckily there is already rain coming up. But I think they just died the very moment I said that. Or, well, there goes the green manure. Well, we need irrigated farms. That's another reason why it's so freaking important for us now to get this thing here automated, because we're lacking the building parts of our economy right now quite desperately. Construction parts are just the backbone of your economy, and therefore you really need them. So let's have a look-see into that. Every 40 seconds, we churn out 4 of these thingies. So every 40 seconds, we need 3 iron plates. Let's check out how many we actually produce. Every 40 seconds, we produce right now 16 iron plates. That means we could run at least 5 more of these dudes just by the production of these 2 smelters. Awesome. That really helps us out a lot, because we're going to need, as you see here, also electronics to get the construction parts done, but this also means, well, these don't involve iron, sorry, I got sidetracked here, but this also means that we're going to be able to supply mechanical parts and vehicle parts quite constantly, because as you see here, we would be needing 3 per 40, 5 per 40, making 8 per 40 seconds. And here you see this thing needs 4 iron per 80 seconds. So that means it only needs 2 iron per 40 seconds, right? Right. So this means if we produce all the stuff that we're right now, that we got right now on one assembler each, we'd still have more iron plates available than that. That's good news. That's really, really good news. So first things first, I want to demolish this place here now too, because we're not going to need it anymore. We're also going to relocate most of the industry now somewhere else, because, you know, it is not necessary anymore. We have now a real nice automated production of these. Our cars will be not as busy anymore quite soon as well. And also happy to announce that the fuel station is up and running, so our cars and excavators won't waste time now anymore driving from one spot to another. What we can't change, though, is that the unit storages have to be supplied with cars still. The concrete slabs, you know, we have our big limestone deposit down here. Either we transport the iron plates or we transport the concrete slabs. We have to do one sort of logistic either way. We can't really cut it out. So the next thing I want to do is I want to transport these productions that we had over here too. So let's make it up like that. So what we're setting up here is still, I want to emphasize that, pretty much a small scale facility, because we're now again scattering our production a little bit. We're not going to specialize too much into one good, because it ain't necessary at this point. We don't need that insane upscaling there. Although, let's see. Yeah, I have a nice idea. We're going to do one thing. We're going to set up one separate assembly. And we're going to, let's see, use a little bit of black magic here. No, that's a bad one. There. So the fun part about this game is that you can just use the conveyors and split them off very easily. So for example, we can easily go here, and the game automatically even builds the bridge for us. So we don't have to hassle around with that. I like this level of quality of life on an early access production like that. So here we go. Snuggles around automatically. And we're going to do this there. So And the next step there will be, we're going to put this bad boy down. Maybe here, that's even better. There we go. Or, well, it's too far away. We don't need to go that far away. Let's go here, and we're going to build construction parts for storage purposes up here. So this is going to be our permanent storage of construction parts that we're going to use to build stuff at our place, actually. And this one will supply the tier 2 production with parts. So, but you already might have noticed that we are actually speeding up our production of construction parts quite massively by this. Most of these things can be done as soon as you have unlocked the technologies for it. And there's really no reason to fidget around with crap-shoddy things like these too long if you've understood the basics of conveyor belting. I would even recommend you to build your basics before you got the conveyors and think about how you might want to connect that with conveyors later. I just don't want to talk about that during the first couple of episodes because I feel like this game can be in itself already quite overwhelming. So as you see here, our bold little trucks are supporting this factory here with parts even before we have any connectors. I like that so much about this game. But we want to take the automation further than that. We're not done here, not by all means. We're just starting out, actually. So first off, I want to have a little storage facility for these tier 2 components there as well, because we're going to need tons of these. And your workshops, they only can store so and so much of the product. Like, every one of these workshops, I think after 40 construction parts, they stop producing. That's why storages are quite an important thing. Alright, so let's keep an eye out on our food production, because I'm a little bit worried about that as well, but I'm pretty sure that once these things here kick into gear, everything will be fine. We're going to switch over to irrigated farms very soon as well, but that wasn't possible in the past yet, because we were... What's happening here? Ah, we're out of coal, actually. Amazing. I wouldn't have assumed that this might happen, but... What's happening here? Where's the coal going? So, as you see here, we have hit a bit of a bottleneck with coal production. Obviously, this place here has not enough trucks. That's in general a sign that you don't have enough trucks assigned. But since we are scaling up our whole facility, that's only a natural thing to occur sooner or later. I'll basically take it as a compliment. Alright, wonderful. What I want to achieve now next is I also want to get that copper that we're producing over here into a storage as well, so we can use it for the assemblers too. So here you already notice that there is another mistake from me happening, and I do these rather on purpose. So you notice that this whole storage area is starting to get crammed. It is really vital that you think about how you want to connect these things. We're going to continue with all the consequences that this will bring for us. So what I plan here is to bring up the copper, and we're going to need now mechanical parts. That'll be the easiest thing. And we're going to need electronics as well. That's going to be a little bit harder. I want to start out with the electronics. So electronics need copper and rubber. So they basically don't even need to hang around this place here at all. And that's one thing that we're going to go for here. So I'm going to rearrange that. I just noticed that I have the exits into the wrong direction. So yeah, okay, I'm going to not do it wrongly here on purpose. I just found a very easy solution. So we're going to store copper here. And we're going to store rubber here. So you might already know, you might already guess where this will go. We're going to produce our electronics there. So I want to go down there. And you can already configure everything way before the actual production process is running, just so you know. Alright. So we're going to do the same things we did before, just connect the conveyor belts. Wow, that looks yucky. But it actually does make sense. I love it. This thing automatically leaves up some free space to make this entry not useless. I keep being impressed about the quality of life things for an early access version. Some final release games could really learn a lot from this early access standard of this game. I dig it. So we're going to put this end storage there. So there, electronics. So electronics are going to be a larger cost in this thing, and let's see. We're going to need like 60 seconds per batch of electronics. We're going to consume things. We're going to consume electronics here for the construction parts. That's why I want to look at this, and my excavator has no terrain designations. That's something I need to care about. So, but first let's talk about this, because this is always a little bit of a nasty part. As you see here, we're producing 4 electronics per 60 seconds, and here we are consuming 4 electronics per 80 seconds, and here we are consuming another 2 electronics per 80 seconds. So let's see if I remember correctly, maintenance also ate electronics, didn't it? Yeah. So you see here, maintenance eats up even a unit of electronics every 20 seconds. So this is where stuff gets a little bit more complicated to calculate it. So I personally like to do... There are different approaches, and I use various ones. So I'm going to play these through this series as well. So for this scenario, to check out how these dudes work, you see these are on 80 seconds, these are on 60 seconds. So my thought is, where do these meet? So 2 times 60 is 120, 3 times is 180, 4 times is 240. Bingo. 240. So this must be taken times 3, and this is taken times 4. A little bit complicated, I know. So that means we're going to produce 16 units of electronics in 240 seconds, and we're going to use up 12 plus 6 per 240 seconds, because these are only taken times 3. If that's confusing, don't worry. I'm going to get through these things so thoroughly that you'll be seeing how it works anyways. So the long shot there is that means we're producing 24 in 240 seconds. Right? No, we're producing 16. And we're eating up 12 plus 6. That means 18. So one factory of electronics won't suffice to bring up construction parts and vehicle parts. Let's not talk about the maintenance whatsoever. So you notice we can use several of these, but instead we're going to do another little trick there. We're going to use our first electric assembly for that one, because these are just working out faster. As you see here, the math behind that can grow a little bit complicated at times, and if that's feeling overwhelming to you and killing the fun for you out of the game, I totally understand that. And there's one piece of good news for you. There's always the approach of taking a rough estimate and just trying to build as much as you think is necessary, and then bit by bit go larger or wait until you have found the stuff that you want to go for. So here our excavator has no more mining designators. No more reachable mining designators. As you see here, that means these here are not possible, but you already can see why. Pretty clear. We've started way too high on the terrain. So we got to lower our... These parts I'm still struggling myself a little bit with. Still confusing me a tad bit. Let's try it like that. Alright, so as you might notice, we're bleeding out of maintenance real quick. So we gotta do something about that. So we can bring up another facility for mechanical parts, and this one I'm going to bring up over here because I don't want to interfere with the whole construction part business there, because that would actually be more of a inconvenience if I would be starting to go for the mechanical parts construction over here as well. We'll rather go another way, and that's pretty simple. We're going to do connection there, and then we're just going to use the second exit of the unit storage there. Easy as that. And since we had that issue there that we ran out of coal, let's see, where is the entrance for coal there? There it is. So we're going to leave nothing to chances there, and we're going to set up another loose storage there, assign it for coal, pick up the U-shaped conveyor, and just connect it there, and problem solved. There's no reason to suffer like this, because you're easily able to fix these problems. Another piece of good news there is, as soon as we don't need the Tier 2 construction parts that desperately anymore right now, this second assembly will turn into another supplier for construction parts for us. Pretty good. Right now, as you see here, our unit storage is... The concrete slab unit storage seems to be the main bottleneck, but we're getting there. So, next stop is going to be for us that we're going to set up maintenance over here. So we have already set up the maintenance facility on the other spot. We now know that the maintenance needs mechanical parts and electronics, so we can easily provide both things here. So we're going to go over on this side like, well, I'll go like that. Why not? Like this. So we're picking up the maintenance depot here, and now we're setting up the conveyor. The difference between this and the last one is that this time I'm considering a system which will allow me to set up more than one of these dudes there. So I'm going to put out the electronics this way, all the way this way. I'm going to connect it like there. So this way I can easily set up another one of these in a row and just split off more electronics there. Done. And I'm really considering to leave this little facility here for the electronics completely just assigned to the maintenance, because maintenance is really important, and I don't want to suffer from a lack of maintenance anytime too shortly. So here we go. Also noticeable, we are now on a way higher demand of power than production, and that's going to be an issue in the long run. That's because one of our diesel generators is just not connected there. The easiest solution there, we're just going to... Wait a sec, is that the right pipe? Yeah, that's the diesel pipe. I just wanted to check. Not that I try to connect my generators with wastewater at the end of the day. And we're just going to copy another one of these dudes. And I'm just going to set this up like that. And with the pipe connection, we won't have any issues anymore with with that with these shortages. So we're going to quick deliver the parts. As far as we're able to, that is. Obviously, I seem to be out of construction parts for the last diesel generator, but this way you have an automated supply of goods there. Why is it not flowing? Because it doesn't need. Okay. So. Alright. Now we still have no automated production of electronics for the assembly and the vehicle parts, but that's not something that we need to break our noggin about today. There's another neat thing that we could do if we want to, and we also could just assign the output of these guys onto several unit storages. There are so many ways how to organize your factory. This one is a very basic one, which will get you through the early stages of the game, but be aware that this game will only scale up, and we're just going to need to build bigger. But my personal credo for games like these is a simple one. Don't try to make the perfect factory right from the get-go. Try to make the best you can at the moment where you want to do something with your best knowledge, and always improve on that. That's one reason why I personally disagree so heavily with the decision of the mods, of the devs, that demolishing only gives you a fraction of the construction materials back. That's why I'm not a big fan, because I love all those systems that not necessarily punish you in any way for experiment. But that's just my personal opinion. Let's not talk about that too much there. So, at the end of this episode, we have fully automated production of construction parts tier 1 and tier 2. The construction ratios, as you see here, are limited. We're going to upgrade to electric assemblies very soon, which are just going to have a higher throughput. So, as you see here, you can't just upgrade them on the fly. And we also set up a fully automated facility and situation for, or no, completely automated facility for the maintenance. Everything we did so far with trucks, we have reduced as heavy as we were able to. And there's, of course, more and more optimizations possible. As you see here, the electric assembly just does double the job of the old one, and we're able to get a lot of other things going for ourselves, but more about that in the next episodes. Since we have now a stable income of these goods, we're now able to look at other exciting things like the captain's office, and finally, the exploration via ship. The thing is, the ship does need a steady supply of diesel, and you need to repair the shipyard with a substantial amount of construction parts. And I wanted to get all the other things done before we go deeper into this. At this point, your city, factory, however you want to call it, is at a pretty stable state. We're going to add in the next episode an automated facility for the vehicle parts, because that's what we're missing right now. And I'm also going to set up the vehicles depot somewhere else, because, you know, there's really no reason to have the depot so far away from all the juicy construction parts. So, drop me your comments down below. I hope you found that episode helpful. Thanks so much for watching and your time. Leave me your thumbs up if you enjoyed, and consider subscribing. I'd be delighted to have you. Have a wonderful day, and see you soon. Bye-bye.